Hey everybody, welcome to a playoff edition of Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark, and the Birds are home for the playoffs, and this is where they want to be. The Eagles defense has been much better at home. They've given up 17 points or less in each of their last 6 home games, fewest points in the NFL at home over those last 6 games. They only gave up 17 to the Seahawks. But the Eagles' offense only scored 9 in that loss 6 weeks ago. Birds' offense looking a whole lot better, a lot different, more energy with Carson and the kids. Here is our own Doug Peterson breaking down some of the best plays in the division-clinching win over the Giants. Tape study presented by Chickies and Pete's with our own Ike Reese.
Joining us this week for Eagles Tape Study is Eagles head coach Doug Peterson.
Ike.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank
First
you.
of all, congratulations on the big win Sunday. Congratulations on the NFC East Division crown.
Thank you.
And let's take a look at some of these young players that are starting to blossom and help this offense so they evolve. This play here from Carson Wentz to Joshua Perkins on the opposite side of the field. You just don't see many quarterbacks that can make this throw.
You don't. This is a play we actually had in the week before with Zach Ertz. And we said, you know what, with Perk, same athleticism, right, a guy that can run and get out and stretch the field. And really all we're trying to do is just take 2 with Greg and then end up with him. We were trying to get a 1-high defense back here, but we end up getting a kind of a split safety look. And this is right before the half, obviously. So you can kind of see the 4-cross look in the back end. So now Perk is running off of 1 guy, and he does a heck of a job bringing this all the way flat across the field. Carson, you can see the pocket now with the design rollout, the design play action pass, giving him vision down the field. This is basically a 1-man route. There's no other options on this particular play. And he's all the way at the numbers.
Yeah.
Which in practice, we pulled him up somewhere in this alley most of the time to make this throw. And then Perk does a great job of just crossing face of all these DBs on the back end. Carson anticipating it, making a great throw, and big play for us to get us on the scoreboard right before the half.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's something you would coach the quarterback to do to throw across the field.
Not that far.
But you have to have a certain amount of arm strength to be able to do that.
You do, and that's one of the things that Carson has, and that's why we kind of fell in love with Carson when we were back, recruiting him a little bit, to possibly be a Philadelphia Eagle, was his arm strength.
Yeah, and you watch him here again, getting him out of the pocket, coach, and some of the new players, the fans are having fun, learning some of the new guys each week.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much fun it's been for you, but you certainly are finding ways to put them in right positions.
And this was a play specifically put in for this particular week with Deontay Burnett. I mean, a guy that has some speed to run a deep angle route. We're pulling Big Matt Pryor. That would have been Brandon Brooks, but he got hurt in the game. And then so we're trying to get all the defensive guys to really react to the play action pass this way and then go one-on-one on the corner. And then here comes Dallas. He's going to work a sail type of a route. And so we're going to layer this thing. When you end up pausing the tape, you're going to see there's 1, there's 2, and then here comes Greg Ward. So we're just layering the whole field side of this play. Again, by design, getting Carson out of the pocket. You see the vision he has. Now, 1, he can run, right? So we understand that. And then he knows he's got one-on-one right now with a speed guy, in our case, against a defender whose back is turned, knowing that our guy is going to break it to the sideline. So Carson knows that. He anticipates that. There's the break at the top of the route. And then Carson does a great job of just kind of leaving the ball on the sideline for Deontay to make this play. What a heck of a catch. Great play. Great for his confidence and for our offense in this football game.
And I love that play call, Coach, because it came after you guys had just taken a deep shot down the field to Rob Davis. Penalty, brings it back. You're looking at 1st and 20 there. But it showed your mindset, Mike Grove's mindset, to be aggressive and throwing that ball down the field.
And that was the thing. I think we just switched the quarter there, too, from 3rd to 4th quarter. And so it was like, you know what? We had time. I had time to think about the play call. I was able to switch personnel. We were on the exact hash. We wanted to be on the left hash for that play, get Carson out to the right, and it just worked out. It was well executed by our guys.
And this was a hard, tough fought game, 17-17 into that 3rd quarter, and then your defense. This play here, I thought, turned the game. A big play here from Malcolm Jenkins getting a blitz and Fletcher Cox picking up the fumble.
It really did, because we went up 17-10. And then Saquon rattles off a 68-yard touchdown to tie the score. And we just needed something to go, because we know playing, this from playing the Giants, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if, one team is 15-0 and the other team is 0-15. It's always a fight. It's always a battle. And really this particular play and into the 4th quarter, our defense, you can start seeing our defense gaining traction.
Great job of the guys up front. Looked like they confused the Giants offensive lineman there, bringing the extra pressure. Malcolm sort of sliding in here late. Looks like they caught this guy off guard a little bit and able to get that pressure. Obviously, it helps with the bobble snap, but more guys than they can block.
It is, and they had already made their protection check probably pre-snap. Looks like they were trying to turn out maybe to 47 Nate Gary, so obviously it gives Malcolm the clean A gap right there. Saquon stepping up and taking Nigel in that case, but just again, a well-executed, well-timed up play. Playing linebacker, timing of blitzes is everything, right? Yeah. Watching the ball, the snap count and all that, and then catching the offensive line off guard. This was a great, again, well-executed by our defense, and then our offense scored on the next play and kind of ended the game at that point.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, a proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it. A lot of these young players that are around Carson, they're bringing a lot of energy, they're hungry. And when we go back and look at that first game against the Seahawks,
yep.
Doug Peterson says these guys are very coachable. And we saw maybe some mistakes with route running, trying to get on the same page with Carson Wentz. But what has improved since then with these young receivers?
They are coachable, but they're inexperienced. And early, when they started playing and back at the first Seattle game, you saw a lot of little mistakes. This is a precision offense, and guys have to be where they have to be at the right time, at the right place. And if you look at this play, it's Greg Ward on a little stop route here, but he moves a little bit to the inside, and Carson's expecting him here. You've got all of this space to the outside. You got this defender running with his back to him. So there's a lot of room out here for him to operate. And Carson's expecting him more to the outside. He moves inside, and they miss on a 3rd and 5. But when you move forward, John, to last week, Greg Ward, Carson Wentz, same guys, same situation. It's 3rd and 5. And you watch him come up here on the little stop route. The ball is going to be delivered while he's still looking upfield. Look at that. He's upfield. Carson's already cocked his arm to throw the football, but they connect on this one. The ball is right where it needs to be. He's right where he needs to be. The timing is perfect. The placement of the football is perfect. And that's the growth over that little span where these guys have worked together.
Self-Scouting is brought to you by Rothman Institute at Jefferson, the official orthopedic and healthcare partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
We've certainly seen a lot more from these young receivers who have been forced to play and have played very well over the last couple of weeks. There's one element, though, to this Eagles offense that's been a staple pretty much all season, and we've certainly seen it in the last couple of weeks as well be a big factor in games, and that's the screen game. And the Eagles run the screen game in a variety of ways. They're very multiple with it. And they're not only multiple with it in the design of the screen game, but in who catches the ball. Obviously, screens go to backs, and we've seen Boston Scott be a big factor in critical situations in the screen game. And he's got the kind of quick explosiveness, short area burst that is very effective in the screen game, especially when he has immediate space in front of him where he can turn a short play into a 25, 30, 35-yard play. And that's been absolutely important for an offense that doesn't necessarily produce a lot of explosive pass plays where the ball's thrown 30, 35 yards in the air. The other player over the course of this season who's been really impactful in the screen game has been Dallas Goedert. And Goedert's come on in all areas over the last 4 weeks in this 4-game winning streak. And he's very, very good at just peeling off the line of scrimmage and getting in position to catch screens. And it's almost a delayed feel to it, which causes the defense to not react to him quickly. And Dallas Goedert is now become a critical piece in the overall Eagles passing game. But make no mistake, the screen game, whether it's to a back, whether it's to tight end Dallas Goedert, a really important part of the Eagles passing game. And one thing's for sure, you will see it against the Seahawks.
All right, fellas, really since that loss to Seattle here 6 weeks ago, the Eagles offense has been really different. Carson Wentz since then, 10 touchdowns and just 1 interception. But in that game, he was pressured a lot, and he turned the ball over 4 times. He was sacked 3 times. How is this offense a lot different now than that first game against Seattle?
Well, when I look at it, I mean, I think back then we saw a quarterback that was trying to play from the pocket, was trying to operate an offense with precision and timing, with guys he just didn't have a lot of chemistry with. And the biggest thing I think that's happened since then is that Doug Peterson and his offensive coaching staff have figured out that they had to sort of scrap some of those things and sort of put Carson in a position to where he's comfortable throwing the football. You look at the offense now, there are some plays from the pocket. Those are typically quick throws, but the plays going down the field are typically plays being made outside the pocket, and that's where he's at his best.
They're keeping him on the move. They realize what he's really good at, what he's comfortable with doing, and that's what they're dialing up now, a lot of that stuff. But it really gets back to the O-line. They had a lot of problems with protection in that first matchup, and a lot of those problems they've been able to fix. You had the rookie Andre Dillard at right tackle, starting at right tackle. You had a lot of problems, and that was the game where Brandon Brooks was sick, had to go out of the game. So up front, you had a lot of issues. A lot of those issues have been resolved now. Much better football team.
Yeah, and obviously we got to wait to see what Miles Sanders will he be available and how he looks out there running the football. But I think this is a much better running football team now than they were against Seattle. They look too one-dimensional against Seattle. When you can't run the football and Seattle knows what you're going to do by throwing the ball, they can play defense. This is a more balanced offense now, and I think it makes it a lot more difficult for defenses to hone in on who you should key to stop, because the stars aren't necessarily there for us right now on offense, except at that quarterback position, which I think has made us a more dangerous and versatile offense, because it's hard for a defense to sort of key in on who they wanted to stop.
First of all, you guys are the NFC East champions. And we get to host a playoff game next week. I told you guys talked about it all week. We set out on a journey a long time ago to be sitting here standing in anybody's locker room, maybe ours, maybe a visiting team, playing for this game, playing for the NFC East championship. And you look back on our season, all the highs and lows and everything, and the feeling that we have right now standing in this locker room, well worth it, right? Yeah. Because guess what? We are not done yet. Enjoy this one. Enjoy this one. But now, hey, you have to reset. Everybody's starting over, okay? You're in the tournament. Anything can happen.
All right, Doug Peterson, obviously very satisfying and rewarding to get this team into the playoffs for a third straight year. And Ike Reese, you go back to that last Seahawks game here 6 weeks ago. Russell Wilson was sacked a season high 6 times by the Eagles defense. What are you seeing with the matchups they were able to get? And then coming off the Giants game, how this defensive front is getting pressure?
Well, I think they did a great job, John, in that first matchup, rushing as a team, meaning those guys up front, they all had a method to their madness. Some of the games that they were running, setting up the teammates to get sacks by sacrificing, like you're going to see here, right? You're going to see here versus the Giants. This guy, Derek Barnett, he was huge last week versus the Giants. 2 sacks, but not only in the pass game, but also in the run game. But if you just watch him here in the passing game, let's just see how he does a great job of setting up his buddy Tim Jernigan here for the sack. So great job one-on-one on the outside, spin move inside, flushes Daniel Jones to the outside. And here's what I like what this defensive line has been doing lately. Tim Jernigan knows that Derek Barnett has that one-on-one. He sees that he made that move inside. Instead of following him, he comes to the outside and basically walks right into a sack against Daniel Jones. There were several times that happened this past week where Brandon Graham set up Derek Barnett for his sack. So you want to make sure as a pass rushing unit, you're trying to get the one-on-one matchups, and having Derek Barnett back out there healthy, I think, has enhanced this pass rush over the last few weeks. They're going to need him to continue that this week versus Seattle.
Yeah, and here's Greg Cosell talking about how the Eagles were able to scheme and get those one-on-one matchups they want.
John, you are exactly right. And the Eagles did it with a particular front that dictated one-on-one matchups along the offensive line of the Seahawks. It's a 5 across front. Many teams call it a diamond front. And the way the Eagles do it is they bring Nigel Bradham, a linebacker, up to the line of scrimmage as what we call a stand-up 3 technique. He's on the outside shoulder of the left guard, Mike Iupati. And then you've got 3 defensive linemen to his left and you have Derek Barnett outside of him to his right. So it's a 5 across front. But I want you to look at one thing first and foremost before we get to the breakdown of the play. Look at Fletcher Cox. He's head up on the offensive center, Joey Hunt. That's called a zero technique. And the reason the Eagles do that is they love that matchup of Cox versus Hunt. And this is where the 5 across front comes in. Because what you want to do is make sure that the 5 offensive linemen set to the player right in front of them. So Bradham is critical here as the stand-up 3 technique. Even though he will back out after the snap of the ball, he eats up and occupies Yapati. So what happens? You get the one-on-one mismatch with Fletcher Cox versus the center Hunt. Cox drives Hunt right back into the pocket where Josh Sweat cleans up for the sack. Really well-executed concept from a 5 across front. Now we're going to stay with the same Seattle game. We're going to go to the fourth quarter. You're going to see the exact same front. 5 across, diamond front. You see Nigel Bradham, same spot, stand-up 3 technique, just over the outside shoulder of Mike Yapati. Notice where Fletcher Cox is, the same place. Zero technique, head up on Hunt. We know that's a mismatch. So do the Seahawks. So what do the Seahawks do? They actually have Yapati slide toward Hunt because they need him to help on Fletcher Cox. Now, all game long, Bradham has not rushed from that stand-up 3 technique position. On this play in the fourth quarter, he comes. Yapati's not there. So what happens? The back has to pick up Nigel Bradham. Really nicely done by Seattle up to this point. But Malcolm Jenkins, in this man coverage concept, has the back man to man. And what Jenkins does really well here is what we call a green dog. He's not part of the pressure by design, but when he sees his man-to-man responsibility, the back step up to block Bradham, Jenkins adds into the pressure, and there's no one to block him. So Jenkins gets half a sack here. Really well done by the Eagles, all coming out of the 5 across diamond front. Something else you will absolutely see again in this rematch with the Seahawks.
All right, guys, for the Eagles defense, last time Seattle came here 6 weeks ago, they had 174 rushing yards. But they've lost all those running backs since then, and they've brought back beast mode. Now, it's interesting because are they running the ball a little differently now than they did in that last game? And what do the Eagles need to watch out for?
I don't think they're going to run the ball differently. We kind of know who beast mode is. We've watched him for a lot of years. He's a between the tackles type of runner. But when you look at Travis Homer on the outside, he has the ability to do a lot of things. They want to get him on the perimeter. They want to make sure that they get him in space. A little bit like Saquon last week. You know, they were able to bottle him up except for one play. They're going to do similar things to try and get him out in space because he's fast. And when he gets the ball in space, he's a problem.
Yeah, and I think as a defense, what you got to try to do is be gap sound, everyone trusting each guy is going to do their job. When guys get out of their lanes, like when you watched the big play by Saquon last week, there's no way that should have been a 68-yard touchdown. At most, that should have been a 12-yard, 15-yard gain because there were enough people there to be able to get him down, but you didn't have good sound gap responsibility once the ball got to the outside. These are the types of plays that have hurt us this year with the big runs. When you have 1 or 2 players, that's not where they're supposed to be at. And when it's an 11-man defense, all 11 guys need to be able to trust that each guy is going to be where they need to be at. That's the big play that Rashard Penny hurt us on the first time they played Seattle. It reared its head again last week against the Giants. And Pete Carroll's a good coach. They love to run the football. So they're going to look at the explosive plays we've given up on defense. And those are the type of runs I would expect to see.
We showed you the game plan to beat the Seahawks. The Eagles, they're riding into the playoffs off of 4 straight wins. Seattle, they've lost 3 of 4 going into the postseason. And their defense, since they only gave up 9 points to the Eagles here at the Link, their defense has given up an average of 27 points a game. This is a winnable first-round playoff game for your Eagles. Thanks for watching Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. Enjoy the playoffs. And if you want more X's and O's, check out our Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local tri-state Toyota dealers, a proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it.